Hi, Tom here from Adam's Apples Nursery. This is a quick video on how to prune your apple and pear cordons. It's a good time to do it. It's the first week of September and the books will tell you to do it in July. I would wait until first week of September and then you don't get any regrowth in the summer. And you're getting light onto the fruit if you've got any, if you're lucky enough to have some fruit. Pruning cordons is all about pruning the current season's growth, and you're pruning pretty hard. It feels quite brutal, but they can go from looking very untidy to looking very good, getting light on the fruit that's there and light on the wood to encourage more fruit bud formation next year. So this is how you do it. So your cordon might look something like this at the end of the summer. This is about 2 years old, 3 years old maybe. And what you've got here are extension growth that's grown in all this summer from there right to the tip there, and you can see it all over this tree. These are all this is all this current season's growth, and the main thing with the cordon is you've got a central stem, this one here, this central stem that goes all the way up. It's tied to a cane there, and what you've got coming off the side of this main stem are some short branches. So generally anything growing off this main stem you would prune back to about 4 or 5 buds, about 10 centimeters, something like that. And then the principle is anything that grows off the side of these short side branches, you prune even harder to about 2 buds. You can see this one here last year would have been pruned back to about 2 buds, which is about 4 or 5 centimeters. So you've got, if we look in here, you've got about 8-10 centimeters, something like that, off the main stem for the first branches. Then anything growing off these first branches, we call these laterals. Anything growing off these, which are called sublaterals, we just prune to 2 buds, about 3 or 4 or 5 centimeters, something like that. For example, I will choose a bud about there and a bud about there. Over here we'll go for a bud, that one there, we'll go for that one there, and one there. This one here, we're going to go about there, about there. And you can see it's really very simple. All you have to do is find where this current season's wood started. So go to the tip, work back to where it started growing, and then you count roughly 2 buds from that growing point. 1, 2. In here we've got one about there. Can't see that one. Let's open that up nicely though. So we've got, that's the growing point. You can see my camera focuses properly. That's the growing point there. You've got a little cluster of leaves at the bottom, and then count 1, 2 buds up from that. So it's about there, and on here we're looking about there. Okay, and on this one, it's in the shade a bit here. Actually, I'm going to cheat. That's into last year's wood. So we've got, what have we got here? This is where the bud grew from. We've got a little cluster of buds there, 1, 2. Doesn't have to be exact. Some people, if you enjoy being exact, you can get your ruler out, but you can also be fairly slapdash. So this one's growing from the main stem. So remember what I said, it's about 5 buds for this one. So cluster there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we go slightly a longer branch if it's coming off the main stem. And then next year, anything that grows off this one that we've left a bit longer, next year at the same time we will prune that extension growth back to 2 buds. So you've got main stem, you've got about 8-10 centimeters or 5 buds, anything growing off the main stem, and then anything growing off that you prune back to about 2 buds. So here, let's see, we've got this one here growing out of this extension about there. This one's going to go about there. This one's going to go about there. It's really very simple. Here, I'm going to cut that back hard like that. That one's slightly longer. And this one's rubbing up against the fence, so actually I'm going to prune him quite hard. So then just a little bit more here. That 2. That 2. You can see I'm not being completely exact. Down here we've got one thing about there, That one's coming off about there. Anything tiny like this, if you've got a little kind of thin little shoot like that, I tend to ignore if I'm honest. But anything that's more than 5 centimeters to start with. That one again, there's 2 buds. There's the cluster that comes from the point where the branch started growing. So then 1, 2 buds. And what that does is it leaves a new extension growth. Generally next year will grow from this point, and then often what happens is the sunlight gets onto here and this one turns into a fruit. So then you can see, we get that out of the way, and there's just a couple down there that I haven't done. So you can see, hopefully, that is now quite a lot less bushy and tidier. And the sunlight, if this had fruit, unfortunately it hasn't got any fruit on it. What's the variety? Oh, George Cave. Well, the labels come off there. So it's a George Cave, good variety, but fruits earlier. We did have a few apples off this one actually, where they were back in August, a few weeks ago. And so you can see if there was fruit on there, if it was a later fruiting variety, the light would now be getting in onto the fruit, and because you're pruning it really hard, but you're not actually pruning the wood that's got fruit on it. That's why you're not losing any fruit, you're actually allowing more light onto the fruit for it to ripen and get more light onto these buds, which hopefully then will start to form some fruit buds next year, and we'll get lots of fruit. So we've got a few here to do, a few cordons here on the fence. But it's a nice, growing cordons is a really nice way of getting lots of different varieties in a fairly tight space, because you can plant them just a metre apart. And so it's exactly the same principles for pear trees as I've just done on this apple tree. Early's not very impressed. He's guarding the plums there. Marjorie's seedling looking very good. All right, thank you.